I cleaned one section of the production line, okay, the production line, and another guy cleaned the other bit. Now my job was, first of all, to go to the saw, this robotic saw that basically sawed the pigs in half, okay? And you can imagine what comes off it, and I can only describe it as hot dog filling. It was goo, it was jelly, and I had to shovel that from underneath this saw and put it in this tank, which is like a massive toilet, pull a lever and it sucked it down and put it into the back of one of those disgusting smelling wagons that you see coming out of slaughterhouses. And then basically get a hose pipe with practically boiling water and spray all the walls from the blood, and all the walkways were covered in blood. You was walking in blood. It was just pure blood everywhere, all over the floors, everywhere. There was bits of animals everywhere, hanging off the machinery, hanging on the floor. It was a crime scene. It was horrible.
And what the other people there? What was their reaction? Were they shocked by that, or were they just like, oh, this is?
Well, are you talking about the induction, or are you talking about my first day of work?
Or is there a difference? Is there a different induction period and then the first day of work, or what's?
Right. So, well, no. So the induction was really interesting because it's the induction that sort of they gave us a little test.
Right.
And they said, right, okay. So we did some tests where we pressed buttons to answer the questions, and the questions were like, there was a picture of 4 buzzes on a screen, and you had to pick which one was the number 53. And there were 4 buzzes with different numbers on. It was that simple. They just wanted to see that you had basic English and basic maths. You could read English, so you could read the signs inside the factory. One guy failed because he had no command of English whatsoever. So he failed, and he was the only guy who failed it. So then they gave us some footwear, some wellies, and an overcoat, and then they took us through to the kill floor, and they took us on a tour. And the first thing I saw was flames on this dead body, and dead bodies going past us. And then we walked around a bit further, and we got to the floor where they disembowel and cut all the pigs up into the separate parts. And as soon as the workers saw us all walking over, they all started playing up, doing all these horror noises and exaggerating the movements. One guy with this saw was just going, ah! and doing all this stuff. This young guy in front of me got spattered in blood, and it was all done to just test out metal. And by the time we got to the dispatch area where the finished product is, she turned around to us and said, right, if that shocked any of you, then this job isn't for you, you can leave now. For those of you who are okay and still want a job, come with me. So it's like a little bit of an initiation test to see if people could handle it.
Yeah, sure. And how, obviously, you don't want to be sussed out, right? So were you conscious of people, reading your body language? And, how did you do that?
No, it's funny. I mean, okay, so I've just been diagnosed with ADHD. And dopamine is what's lacking in my body. And anything that gives me dopamine, any stress, any confrontation, any sort of scenes of violence or anything like that brings my dopamine up. So it brings me up. So it sort of leveled me out, So I've got an advantage on that side of things. In stressful situations or dangerous situations, I bring myself up to calmness. So it was the only time I thought that this neurodiverse quality of mine has been sort of a good quality. But I've known all my life, I was 50 years old at the time. I've grown up with it. We've had slaughterhouses near us. It's not a big deal to me, It didn't bother me, right? I've seen it all before, so it's not a worry to me. It didn't disgust me. It was just part of life because I've been indoctrinated in this for so long. I mean, to a young person, it probably would be absolutely shocking, But to me, it's just everyday life. And I'm vegan because I don't like the oppression. I'm vegan because I don't like my money going towards rape and oppression and slavery and murder and all this we do to animals. I hate it, and that's why I'm vegan. It's not because I can't stand the sight of blood, or I don't know what happens to animals because I do, you know. So it's a bit of a funny one with me. I think that's why I was the ideal candidate to go in there, really.
And on that point, like, was it like you and Joey discussed and they decided that you were going to be the guy to plant the cameras, and like how did that process work, and like how did you plan to plant the cameras in the gas chambers? If I mean, were you even?
Well, we didn't know. We didn't know, Giles, how it was going to go because we didn't know what was in there. We didn't know. And when I walked in on that first day and I started doing my job, I looked and all the walls are just plastic covered. There's no shelves. There's nothing. Everything is built so that nothing sort of catches germs, you know, because it's supposed to be a sterile environment. It's got to be clean to a really sterile environment. So there can't be shelves and bars or anything in the way because everything's got to be cleaned immaculately every night, you know. So everything was like, it was like walking into an operating theatre. The walls were just pure white plastic, so you can see the blood. You can see traces of any flesh on there. So we had a real problem. We did not know what the situation would be like. So what I did on the first week was concentrate on getting extremely good at my job. Because if you get good at your job, then they stop looking over your shoulder. And that's the first thing I had to do, is get good at my job. That's what I spent the first week doing, as well as looking for cameras and as well as planning out and looking at, you know, where the fire escapes were. There were lots of cameras in there, but I didn't know whether the cameras were live, so I went and talked to the security guard. I just said, "Hello, mate, how you doing?" You know, just had a little bit of a chat with him and looked at his screens and see how many screens he had. He was too busy watching Netflix on his laptop. You know what I mean? He's just nothing to him. And there was only like 4 screens in the security office, so I thought there's only 4 cameras really inside. So, but there was lots of retrospective cameras everywhere. So I had to test those cameras. So what I did then was I started climbing up and trying to look suspicious, you know, looking around and creeping about and looking as suspicious as I could. And then waiting the next day to be called in the office for someone to say to me, "What were you doing like last night?" You know, but nobody ever did. So that made me sure that the cameras weren't being monitored all the time. And that left me free then to go and look for places to plant cameras. I got the first camera down by climbing on a bin and then climbing on the wall. But as I was doing this, one of the foremen came round and said, "What are you doing, Danny? What are you doing there?" I said, "I've just seen a pigeon fly in. I'm just seeing where it's gone." You know, you've got to think on your feet because, you know, when you're doing things and you look suspicious, you know, they're going to question you. And he went, "Oh, make sure, you know," he said, "Well, if you see it again, report it." And I'm like, yeah. He went away and then back on again, and I got this camera in place. It was tough.
On that point, like maybe people don't know here, but there's a very famous TV show called Coronation Street in the UK, and Dan's been on this TV show. But like, so do you think that your kind of career in acting, were there moments like, I think there was another interview you did where you talked about you were dressed up as the maintenance or something for the gas chambers, but you were meant to be the cleaner, so you had the wrong uniform on, and you walked past your boss.
No.
Was that?
No, I think you've got a little. Yeah, I think you've got a little bit mixed up with that.
Okay.
So that's a little bit later. So what happened was, I got the footage. I went back the next day, collected the camera, and then I had to go home, check it recorded, then bring another camera in, go in again, go in my new spot, and I did this over and over until the point came when I thought I'll try and get one in the gas chamber. And I found this lid on the gas chamber. So I lifted up the lid and started climbing down the ladder. And then I started going dizzy. And I thought, oh shit, the gas is still in here. So I climbed out really, really quickly because I didn't realise that they kept the gas in. I thought the gas was pumped in as the machine was running, but it's not. I think it's actually left there, sitting on the bottom of the gas chamber constantly. And it's just topped up when levels stoop. Right. So I failed on that one. So I came out after 3.5 weeks of working there. I just left. I said, "Look, I've had enough, guys. I don't want to do this anymore." Got my camera. I was a bit more brave then because I wasn't bothered about getting caught. Filmed some stuff in there, and then I got out of there. So it was quite a while, over a year after, when we decided to sort of,
Okay.
from what I recall, before we decided we needed to get inside. Now, luckily enough, some of the footage I got showed one of the maintenance guys, and he was dressed in a blue overall with black boots on and a black hard hat. And the whole system in there is that the normal workers have white hard hats, the foremen, the bosses, have green hard hats, or red hard hats at the top of the chain, and the maintenance guys have black hard hats. So we knew the uniform for the maintenance guys. So we got that all together, and that's when the plan for infiltrating the place and getting in there and planting the cameras was hatched.
I see.
From that point onwards.
And was there, like, if you were going to get caught, like, I guess this comes to, like, the legal question, was there stuff where it was, like, did you have, like, planning beforehand, like, how we protected legally, and also maybe much later on as well, like, when this is released now on Prime Video, does that help you protect it legally, or is it worse? Like, what, can you explain that situation, or do you just not think about that?
Of course, yeah. I'll answer you. I'll answer that in a second. I'll answer your question about the acting. So
yeah, sure, go.
As an actor, I'm trained to act normal in unnatural surroundings. Okay, so I'll go like Coronation Street, for instance. I was in a scene with a few people and loads of extras, and it was like a council meeting. We had about 30 people stood around. We had 3 cameras. We had about 5 boom mics. We had producers. We had editors. There was a whole range of people, and I had to sit there and behave like I was having a conversation with someone in normal circumstances. And that's what acting trains you to do. So when we went in dressed as the maintenance guys, as you see on the film, when I walk in, I see my gaffer. And luckily enough, it was COVID, so we had the COVID masks on. And he just looked up and then looked away. Now, my instinct was to look behind me. That was my instinct, look behind you to see if they're following you. But the minute you look behind you, that's the minute you look suspicious. Because if you're supposed to be somewhere, you're not bothered if somebody's following you, you know? So, yeah, it's all about acting normal in unnatural circumstances. And that was the most dangerous time, was when we were planting them. Right. The retrieving the cameras was the best time, the easiest time, because all we had to do was run, you know, or push them out of the way. We grab those cameras and we go, and there's nothing they can do about it. But if they found those cameras on the night we went, or we were caught leaving, then they would be on high security, and we would never have got those cameras back. So it was crucial that we got in, planted the cameras, and got out without being seen. And that's what we did on the first night. We were very lucky. Very lucky. So, to answer your question about the legality of it, now the UK law is this: trespass is a civil offence. It's not a criminal offence. So my door here is open. Anybody can walk in my house now, and they're not breaking the law. Okay? It's an open door. They're not breaking the law. The minute I tell that person to get out of my house, that is then aggravated trespass. That is breaking the law. If somebody breaks a lock, that is breaking and entering. So as long as we went on those premises without breaking anything to gain entry, we're under a legal right to be there until the owner tells us to leave his land. And that is an obscure law that stands in the UK. I'm not sure about Sweden. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, because all the land in the UK is owned. So if trespass was a criminal offence, nobody in the UK will be able to walk anywhere in the countryside or hills, over the moors, because it's owned. So we're breaking the law. So trespass can never be illegal in the UK.
Super interesting. We have one more question. Natalia, maybe you could just read the question.
Yeah, we have some questions from Copenhagen, actually.
Or we could do do you prefer we do is there any more of the legal question or the acting, or we could jump to questions from other people now? We have 10 minutes left, just because of my Zoom. accountable?
Yeah, I'm easy.
Okay, let's go.
No, I think I've covered most things. But I mean, it's all about when you're doing stuff like this. It's all about fitting in and behaving as they behave. You know, I had to laugh at racist jokes. I had to listen to homophobic comments. I had to laugh at them. I had to take in. I took in beef and tomato pot noodles because beef and tomato pot noodles are vegan, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
So I used to, you had to look at things like to sort of. I drank tea with cow's milk in, you know, because someone brought me a tea. You know, there's some things you had to do to keep up the facade. It's unfortunate, but it's got to be done, you know, because we've got to look at the bigger picture.
So we have some questions from our Copenhagen activist. Did you know it was just a cleaning job going in? Can you make sure when going undercover that you don't end up killing the animals? Like, did you know it was the cleaning job?
Good question. So I walked in and we sat down at the end after our initiation ceremony. And she said, okay, we've got some jobs in the butchery department, we've got some jobs in the hygiene department, well, that's a 4-1 shift. And I thought, oh, 4-1, that's perfect. Everybody's gone home. It's just the skeleton crew, you know, up over until midnight. So I jumped on that one straight away. If they had said to me, you're going on the kill floor, I would have said, I don't think I can do that job. I would not have done that job. I couldn't have done that job. So therefore,
but would you just?
I knew I would. I knew they would have found me something.
Would you just say in that circumstance you can just say, well, I'm not ready for that kind of job, but I like as a non-vegan you could also, I guess, like not be ready.
Do you know what kind of people got jobs there?
No.
Out of work chefs. There was 6 out of work chefs at the induction because it's the only business they know. They know how to use a knife. They know how to carve meat. It was out of work chefs. There was one guy who lost his license. He was a joiner. It's people who were in unfortunate circumstances. Obviously, there was a lot of people who come over to the country to work, and it was the best paid work. Because, to be honest with you, it's very well paid work for what it is. Because nobody wants to work there, so they've got to pay a premium for people to work there. So, you know, if you've got no qualifications, you've just come onto this country, you're looking for work. The wages they were giving you, it's like, wow, you know, yes, I'll do that.
One more question. We also can have some, maybe we can have one from the Sweden crew. Has anybody got a question for Dan that you want to ask? Otherwise, I've got a list from the... No? Okay. So what did you use to stick the cameras in the gas chamber? Did you worry about them falling off?
No. No, because they were very, very powerful magnets on these,
magnets. Okay.
and it was times 4.
Okay.
So, to be honest with you, it was hard to get them off.
And there was a moment.
You will see in the film how hard it was to get off. You will see a scene in the film. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but you will see a scene in the film where, we struggle.
Okay. And then also we have a request, is it possible to do a screening of the movie? I mean, maybe we could also like help with that, maybe in Sweden or somewhere like other countries. Do you think there's like plans to do like screenings with like vegan activists?
I'm not involved with that side of things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much out of it now. I'm just going to concentrate on my own thing and let that go. There's a lot of people sort of promoting it. I've done my promotion. I'll keep pushing it. I'll keep suggesting it to people, putting posts on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I will keep doing that. But yeah, I think they're trying to get it in Europe, in Canada. I think they're trying to open it up, and I think with the amount of people and the amount of feedback it's getting and the amount of 5-star ratings it's getting, I think it will get opened up to the rest of Europe, hopefully.
One of our activists in Sweden actually works in, she's not here today unfortunately, but she works in one of the big or not big, but like the art house cinemas in Stockholm. So if Joey needs a contact with someone who works in a cinema, and we did before we showed Dominion to 100 people in that cinema under like a secret screening thing on Halloween, and they had no idea what film they were going to see, and we got 100 people in Sweden to watch that. So we have some contacts in the cinema. If they want to do a screening, maybe you can mention to Joey.
That would be amazing, because I mean, I can tell you a little bit about the film. It's not what you think it is, okay? It is some of what we did, but there's also a lot of side stories in there. There's a lot of it's a journey, and you will enjoy it. And it is, people who are non-vegan will enjoy the story. It's not. I watched it 3 times. I watched it as to see my performance. I watched it again to see as from someone who's observing it, to see what they thought of it. So it is an interesting, it is a riveting story. It's not something that you will get bored of. So anybody who's non-vegan who watches this will be gripped. I guarantee it. I absolutely guarantee it.
Well, Dan, the call is about to end, so I just want to do a big round of applause. Blown away. What you did is like not something many activists like are willing to do. So it's such a huge thing that you did, and I think sometimes talking to you, I don't feel like you realise like how big it is what you've done. So
it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was like I feel quite emotional. Like, sorry. Yeah. Come to Sweden sometime. I know, you know the voice of the Vikings. We were talking about it, right? You were going to visit.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Yeah, I keep saying I'll go and visit her one day, but I've got a film coming up that's shooting all over Europe, and I'm not sure where in Europe we're going to be shooting it. So hopefully it's going to be somewhere like Norway or Sweden.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest the Vegan Vikings farms to go and shoot some scenes on if it ever comes up.
Yeah.
So, but I'll let you know, Giles, if I'm ever over there, and it would be great to come and do some activism with you guys.
That would be amazing.
We would love that.
Come to Denmark too.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dan. I don't know if anyone else has any final question just before the time runs out. It might cut halfway through, but we can try.
Ask me anything.
Let's just go until it cuts. So, let's keep.
It's not a question, but you're the bravest person in the room. Thank you very much.
I don't feel like it was bravery. I feel like it was duty. I feel like after 50 years of being the funder for animal abuse and animal oppression, that I've got a lot of karma to pay back. And that's how I feel. And I feel like this was nothing compared with what those animals go through. And I'm doing it for the animals. I'm not doing it for me. I'm not doing it for Great Britain. I'm not doing it for the world. I'm doing it for the animals. And that's all that matters in this equation, is the animals. We had to sit there and watch them suffer. You know, I spoke to those pigs. I saw those pigs every night. I went to see them every night. I stroked them, and I knew that within 2 or 3 hours they would be thrashing around for their lives, suffocating to death, and having their lungs and eyes burned out in that disgusting fucking gas chamber. So I had to do it.
Yeah.